The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news, edited by Anjana Duramgoda and read by Romesh Piris. The headlines. The government balances pools and crisis recovery in 2024 budget deliberations. $150 million from the World Bank to strengthen Sri Lanka's financial sector. The Artificial Intelligence Readiness Assessment for Sri Lanka launched. The postal workers end 48-hour island-wide token strike. Over 11,750 acres of paddy cultivation to be harvested destroyed by rain. In foreign news, world's first whole eye transplant hailed as a breakthrough. In sports, South Africa put the chase after Afghanistan win toss. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe will seek to boost tax revenue and rationalize spending in the government's second full-year budget on Monday, targeting a return to growth for the crisis-hit economy while keeping an eye on elections. Sri Lanka tipped into the worst financial crisis in over 7 decades last year, with the battered economy shrinking 7.8% in 2022, forcing it to default on its foreign debt. However, this year the island's economy has gradually stabilized, helped by a $2.9 billion bailout from the IMF in March, prompting the World Bank to raise its growth forecast to 1.7% in 2024 from an earlier projection of 1%. The central bank expects growth of 3.3% in 2024 after an economic contraction of 2% this year. But President Wickremesinghe, who is also the country's finance minister, will have to contend with the dual challenges of raising revenue essential to taking forward the 4-year IMF program, while also maintaining public goodwill as he prepares to face presidential elections next year. The World Bank's Board of Executive Directors on Thursday approved $150 million in financing for Sri Lanka to strengthen the resilience of the financial sector. Faris Hadad-Savros, World Bank Country Director for Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka, stated that Sri Lanka's economic crisis highlights the need for strong safety nets to support the financial sector. He added that a stable and reliable banking sector is essential for the economy, businesses as well as small and medium entrepreneurs. Hadad-Savros further remarked that by strengthening the deposit insurance scheme will help protect the savings of smaller depositors, including women and people living in rural areas. It will also sustain the confidence in Sri Lanka's financial system, a critical part of building the country. The advent of artificial intelligence is ushering in rapid transformation across various economic sectors, promising to revolutionize industries such as agriculture, transportation, education and healthcare. Against this backdrop, the concept of AI readiness has taken center stage, with many recognizing AI's potential to elevate public services and works towards increasing efficiencies across multiple sectors. Recognizing the significance of AI, the government of Sri Lanka has appointed a committee to drive the development of Sri Lanka's AI strategy, anchored under the Presidential Secretariat. The United Nations Development Programme Sri Lanka, as a member of the aforementioned committee, launched the AI Readiness Assessment, a key milestone in the process of shaping Sri Lanka's AI strategy. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
Continuing with more local news. Postal workers say the token strike launched island-wide recently based on several demands concluded midnight yesterday. Co-convener of the United Postal Trade Unions Front, Chintaka Bandara, stated that the strike was launched demanding the government to abandon its plans to convert Nuwara Post Office to a luxury hotel. Bandara said workers returned to duty this morning and assured that they will take steps to promptly deliver nearly 1 million letters and packages. Meanwhile, Minister of Mass Media, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, said the strike has no basis and they are attempting to transform the postal department into a profit-making entity without privatizing it. The minister noted that strikes will only add to the massive losses incurred by the department. According to the Minister of Agriculture and Plantations Industries, Mahinda Amaravira, 11,757 acres of Yala season paddy cultivation, which were about to be harvested, have been destroyed in several provinces by floods caused by torrential rains that have been falling for almost 1.5 months. The Minister has informed the Agriculture and Agrarian Insurance Board to gather information about the paddy fields damaged due to the long and severe drought during the last Yala season. Accordingly, it has been reported that 64,088 acres of paddy fields have been damaged due to drought, while 11,460 farmers have been affected by the crop damage due to incessant rains. And that concludes local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. President Ranil Wickremesinghe called for a comprehensive program to revive the country's spice industry, which was once a major source of income. Speaking at the 19th Annual General Meeting of the Spice Council, he urged them to prepare a proper plan for the revival of the industry and said that the government is ready to provide the necessary support. The President stressed the importance of bringing the private sector together to implement the program promptly. He also presented awards to Professor Jayasiri Lankage and Sarada De Silva for their contribution to the promotion of the cinnamon industry in Sri Lanka. In addition, President Wickremesinghe presented a commemorative gift to the Minister of Agriculture and Industry Development, Mahinda Amaravira, and received a souvenir gift from the Spice Council. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
And in Watchlight this evening, the Education Ministry today announced a school holiday for all Tamil schools on Monday in view of the Deepavali festival falling on Sunday. The Ministry has taken this decision considering the requirement of Tamil schools. However, the Ministry announced that the schools must be held on the 18th of November to cover the syllabus. The principals of Tamil schools were informed to notify their respective zonal education departments in this regard, and that came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to the bulletin of world news, and first the headlines. World's first whole eye transplant hailed as a breakthrough. Lahore has become the latest megacity to shut down as pollution chokes swathes of South Asia. Vatican's new ruling on Catholic baptism. Now the world news in detail. Surgeons have performed the world's first ever whole eye transplant, a feat hailed as a breakthrough despite the patient not yet regaining his sight. Patient Aaron James said the doctors never expected to work at all, but one eye has shown signs of health, such as functioning blood vessels and a promising retina. It has been 6 months since the 21-hour surgery performed during a partial face transplant in the New, but the surgeon who led the procedure said Mr. James, age 46, may yet see out his left eye again. Aaron James, a military veteran from Arkansas, survived a work-related high-voltage electrical accident and destroyed the left side of his face, his nose, his mouth, and his left eye in June 2021. Lahore has become the latest megacity to shut down as pollution chokes swathes of South Asia, where nearly 50 million people have been breathing toxic air for nearly a week. Pakistan's second most populous city of more than 13 million people has shut schools and closed public parks, malls and offices after the air quality index this week spiked to more than 400, according to IQ Air. That number is considered hazardous by the Swiss air tracking company. The Vatican announced on Wednesday that transgender people can be baptized and become godparents under certain conditions, as well as serve as witnesses to church weddings. The statement, which was written in Portuguese, was made in response to a Brazilian bishop who asked the Vatican about the church's stance on transgender people within its congregations. Back to the headlines of the world news. World's first whole eye transplant hailed as a breakthrough. Lahore has become the latest megacity to shut down as pollution chokes swathes of South Asia. And Vatican's new ruling on Catholic baptism. And that concludes World News.
Development News.
In development news, Sri Lanka's Cabinet of Ministers has approved a proposal to initiate the establishment of a proposed economic commission designed to replace and merge the Board of Investment and Export Development Board. A statement from the Government Information Department said recently that the Cabinet had approved the proposal by President Ranil Wickremesinghe to follow up the recommendations made by a committee appointed in January this year in this regard. And that was Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
On to sports news, it's cricket. Afghanistan will bat first after captain Hashmatullah Shahidi won the toss ahead of their clash with South Africa in Ahmedabad at the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023. Hashmatullah called it right and elected to bat first. His reasoning centered around the belief that the wicket will probably turn later in the day. On the other hand, Temba Bavuma believed that the pitch might skid under the lights. Afghanistan were unchanged, whereas South Africa brought in Gerald Coetzee and Andile Philankau, even as Tabriz Shamsi and Marco Jensen were rested. And that was sports news.
Go ekatiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna aswagena dagapuina habe karana youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship ekamenna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, as shopping begins to occupy thoughts with the year drawing to a close, the Commercial Bank of Ceylon has unveiled a series of exciting discount opportunities in November and December in partnership with Daraz, South Asia's largest e-commerce platform. From tomorrow till Friday next week this month, all purchases by Commercial Bank credit card holders will be eligible for a site-wide 10% discount under the Daraz 1111 promotion. Simultaneously, commercial debit card holders will enjoy a 10% discount on purchases of grocery and fashion items during the same period. And that came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekatiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna aswagena dagapuina habe karana youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship ekamenna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, as Sri Lanka explores various avenues to enhance its tax revenue, it is likely that the country will opt for a property tax instead of implementing a comprehensive wealth tax, according to KPMG Sri Lanka. KPMG Tax and Regulatory Principal Suresh Pereira, addressing a webinar on the topic last evening, said Sri Lanka has continued to show hesitancy in bringing in direct taxes, resulting in the country's having to dangerous direct-to-direct tax ratio of 20 to 80%, and property tax over a wealth tax is highly possible. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, moving on to the weather report. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in most provinces of the island in the night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, central, Sabragamur, northwestern and Uva provinces. Showers may also occur at several places in the northern and eastern provinces during the morning too. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabragamur, central, north central and Uva provinces during the morning. And that was the weather report. And now to conclude this news broadcast, recap of the main news headlines. The government balances pools and crisis recovery in 2024 budget deliberations. $150 million from the World Bank to strengthen Sri Lanka's financial sector. The Artificial Intelligence Readiness Assessment for Sri Lanka launched. The postal workers end 48-hour island-wide token strike. Over 11,750 acres of paddy cultivation to be harvested destroyed by rain. And in foreign news, world's first whole eye transplant hailed as a breakthrough. And in sports, South Africa put to chase after Afghanistan win toss. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Back to your regular Friday evening hostess, Saudi Thalam, to take you up till end of transmission. Over to you, Saudi.